Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, one and all, and welcome to the Caps Locks and Chair Shots podcast. You are on episode 15, and it is a very special news-breaking episode of the podcast this week. We're going to be running down the Mae Young Classic, talking about all the news of cancellations, fights in airports, and everything else that we can find and talk about for the next hour or so. Joining me, as always, is my tag team compatriot. He is the unfunny comedian on Twitter. He does not hate women. He is Alex. Say hi to the people, Alex.
She has the coke in her bag. Call the cops.
Oh my God, yes. We will be discussing that real soon. Joining us is the muscle of the podcast, future MMA fighter and hopeful voice of the Philippines, the one, the only, the Jaime.
Hello once again, audience. Let's start talking about wrestling right now.
Okay, and then there's my arch nemesis, the man that I hate with a fiery passion that I hope one day burns in a fiery pit of hell. Hi, Dan.
What's up, everybody? Sorry, Ed's still here.
Yeah, I'm sorry Dan's still here, too. We'll discuss this later on. Let's jump right into things, and since he brought it up, in case you've been living under a rock, in case you haven't paid attention to social media or Impact itself, who kind of mentioned it and kind of didn't, there was an incident after Slammiversary on Sunday in an airport in Orlando between Paige, Alberto El Patron, or Del Rio, or however you want to refer to him, a female fan. TMZ got involved, major other wrestling news sources got involved, so why shouldn't we talk about it a full 6 days after it happened? Alex, since you brought it up, explain yourself. Where did that comment come from?
Well, the story, as I remember it, is that Paige and Mr. Well, let's just use his real name, since he has a million other names, Mr. Alberto Rodriguez.
Sure.
Had a fight in a what was it? An airport bar.
Ish.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. And Paige threw, I guess, 2 or 3 different drinks on him, and he started shouting about how she has coke in her bag, and for the cops to arrest her. And then a lady comes in and says to Paige, "I'm such a big fan. He's an asshole. You should leave him." And records the whole thing.
Okay. Now, has anybody seen any alternate versions of this story? Dan, have you seen anything?
There's so many different types of stories out there. But to me, the biggest story about this is the fact that everybody knows Patron hates WWE. Like, it's blatantly clear. But one of the more interesting things that came out of the story for me is the fact that the reason why he's bashing them so much, according to Paige's half-brother, is because he doesn't want her back in the WWE, and he's trying to force them to release her.
Interesting. Okay. Jaime, we often turn to you to be the straight man of the show, to keep us in line, to be the factual representation of what wrestling fans are. What do you believe happened?
Well, aside from Alex's detailed story, I believe everything was a work. The fight and everything, I really think it's a work. One way to get Paige back in good terms with the WWE, because remember, the heat basically came from her relationship with Del Rio, El Patron, whatever you want to call him. So maybe that's a way to get her back. A way for her to be in good terms.
You know what?
I think it's a work.
I'm so glad that I have officially started rubbing off on all of you. It's like seeing my children grow in my own image before my very eyes. Jaime, that's ridiculous. Like, even for me to say that, it's ridiculous. This was not a work.
Yeah, it's not a work.
They're not going to put this everywhere. It's not a work. It's not
going to be on Total Divas next season.
She's not on Total Divas next season.
Yeah.
She's been removed from the show.
Boy, can you imagine, though?
I am actually interested in watching Total Divas next season just for the simple fact that Alexa Bliss is going to be on it.
Same.
And apparently Carmella as well.
Oh, no. Okay, now we're talking. I mean, they're...
Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Nia Jax are the three that are supposed to be added.
Oh, Nia Jax. That's my woman right there. We're going to talk...
Renee Young, Paige, and Eva Marie is officially off the show, but she is not off of the WWE roster page yet.
And yet...
Eva Marie?
And yet, Mike Kanellis is not on the WWE roster page. Dan, would you like to vent your frustration with that?
Yeah, that is completely frustrating. Like, how do they not have a huge guy they brought in? Well, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal to them, but I mean, that's
huge guy.
It seems like they're going to get somewhat of a push. Maria's on a roster page. They only officially announced Bobby Fish on the roster, which we'll get into that later. Wednesday night after NXT is when they officially announced that he was signed, and he's already on the roster page, but Mike Bennett's not.
Well,
Mike
okay.
Kanellis, you mean?
Whatever.
For one, you can't count a few backstage interactions with Sami Zayn as getting a push.
He's going to get a push, because Zayn's going to lose this feud.
No, he's not.
Mike Kanellis is not going to get a push. Maria is going to get a push.
I agree. Maria's going to get the push. Mike's going to be the big guy that everybody... There's nobody really to equate him to. He's going to live in the shadow of Maria.
Which is pretty much what he's always done, honestly. Like, even at TNA and Ring of Honor, like, he was Maria's husband.
Yeah, I mean, let's call a spade here. It's like, I mean, whoever marries a Kardashian, are they really what they are? Are they just a Kardashian's husband?
Kanye?
I don't value Kanye as a person. I'm sorry, I just don't.
It's your president in 2020.
No, that's Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Thank you. He will get my vote. And besides, I can't think of Kanye as a person when he's a gay fish.
Alright, let's just move on. Let's get back to wrestling.
Yeah, let's get back to what we originally start the show with just about every day, and that's what we liked and what we hated about wrestling. And I am going to throw in the Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather press conferences in there if you would like, because that came off as way more wrestling than anything else. Dan, let's start with you. What was the one thing you liked and one thing you hated about wrestling this week?
Okay, I hated the fact that Nixon Newell is injured and she's not competing in the Mae Young Classic. That was a huge dagger to my heart.
Let's see, and we're checking that, and that is a reference nobody's going to understand until later in the show, but continue.
I am refusing to buy the McGregor-Mayweather fight. I will watch it if somebody invites me to watch it, and I don't have to pay any money. They will not get a dime of my money, but the press conferences were great. That was the best thing that has wrestling involved this week.
Okay.
Well, I guess if I'm going to go pure wrestling, seeing Bobby Fish debut on NXT.
Oh, my God. I'm going to start calling you a freaking Sharpie because you're nothing but a mark. Or maybe we should call you Skid. Maybe toilet paper, because just a mark, but whatever. We'll figure it out before the end of the show. Alex, give me your take. Wrestling this week, what's up?
Alright, my favorite thing is easy. It's Roman Reigns spearing himself into an ambulance to lose a damn match. That was hilarious in all the best ways.
Okay, yeah, alright.
I guess my least favorite thing is literally everything else on SmackDown.
Whoa, I'm going to take an issue with that. The Fashion Police? Or
I didn't like their segment this week.
Oh, what was it called?
Wait, speaking of the Fashion Police segment this week, remember when I said they might tease a love angle between the two? Look how they were dressed. Brokeback Mountain.
You know what? I'm starting to buy into that more and more.
Jaime, they were ripping off Walker, Texas Ranger.
Oh, sorry.
It's a Chuck Norris TV show.
And we all know how Chuck Norris feels about the gay community.
No,
Okay.
we all don't, because I don't, but okay. Anyway, moving on. Jaime, Fashion Police, yes, no, what'd you like?
Favorite part of... worst part of the week should be the Goldust R-Truth match. Terrible. Best part of the week for me was Johnny Gargano's new entrance theme.
It is pretty fantastic. Yeah, that's true. Alright, I'm gonna give y'all mine. My favorite thing that had to do with wrestling this week was the fact that it is now up to almost 5,000 signatures for a petition to have the Texas Rangers, the actual law enforcement group, arrest Roman Reigns for attempted murder and vehicular assault for what he did to Braun Strowman at the end of the pay-per-view. I love it. I think it's one of the greatest things ever. My worst, and I say this with a heavy heart because I love Impact more than anybody that writes for our website and probably more than a lot of the fans out there. I watch it religiously. I have a real soft spot in my heart for Impact. This week's Impact was god-awful terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible. I mean, they're trying to... I don't know what they're doing with Grado, or Joseph Park. I mean, him and Laurel Van Ness, that could be entertaining, but it's...
That is going to be great.
May I just present the idea that Grado is going to marry Laurel Van Ness and be the one to make her sane again.
Chelsea Green herself hinted at that on Twitter.
I don't know. No, it's just... Like, there was just so much cringeworthy stuff on Impact this week. We're not going to go into it because
But that is Impact. Impact is cringeworthy.
No, you see...
Yeah, pretty much.
No, you guys are totally wrong. That's the thing.
And you know what? That's okay. Here's the thing. It's okay that they're cringeworthy because that's what they should be at this point. Because no one's going to watch them and be like, "Yeah, I'm taking this seriously. This is going to be a good show." No, they're going to watch it ironically in the same way that people watch Sharknado.
No, that's the freaking millennial hipster way of looking at things. For the last 2 months, with the exception of maybe 5 or 6, just wow, I can't believe that's on televised segments, Impact has been good. There have been a few times it has been the best wrestling show on TV, including Ring of Honor, including Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, and anything else that has a ring on TV. Impact has been good. It's been getting better. But fans are so freaking jaded about what happened in 2007 and 2011 and everything in between that Impact could be the greatest show ever. It could have Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels for 65 freaking minutes in a main event and people would still bash it because it's Impact. And it's terrible.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
They should embrace the meme at this point. That's the only way they're going to get viewers.
No. That's terrible. That's a horrible way of doing business.
That's what they did with the Broken Hardy stuff, and that was their highest rated segments.
Yeah, and ratings is what drives wrestling on TV, and it does beautiful stuff and everything, but I don't know, maybe I'm just mellowing out in my old age, but that shouldn't happen. They should be more worried about making a good wrestling show than what's going to draw in viewers, because they tried to do what's going to draw in viewers, and it gave us Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette and Hulk Hogan and every old star that the WWE didn't want to use in Impact, and it destroyed the company to the point to where they cannot return.
Well, that was a bad idea at the time because they had the opportunity to be taken seriously as a major wrestling company. That's not going to happen now. Like, we all know, like, hey, it's TNA, they're a joke.
I think it could still happen. I really think it could still happen.
I have faith.
It's just...
You're more optimistic than I, then.
Well, I don't know if Jeff Jarrett is the right... is the right name to do it.
He wasn't the right person the first time. What makes you think it's going to be right the second?
Okay, you say he wasn't the right name the first time. When did he leave Impact?
2009, wasn't it?
So that was right around the Bischoff-Hogan thing, and they were in charge, right? That's what drove the company down. You look at all the stars that Jeff Jarrett can take some credit for making. Your AJ Styles, Samoa Joes, Austin Aries, Bobby Roodes, James Storm, all them guys, they're still big stars. Look at what the WWE has as their core nucleus for things people want to watch.
Those guys, outside of maybe Samoa Joe, but even Samoa Joe, they were all treated as like upper mid-card and mid-card talent. They were never treated as real stars. They were always pushed behind the WWE talent.
AJ wasn't.
That's because Finn still has a voice.
Well, yeah, that's true. Are you talking about Russo there, Jaime?
No. McMahon.
No, there was like a silent agreement basically where like once the WWE was done with stars because they were too old or they weren't performing at a level or whatever, they would pretty much be like, hey, maybe you should consider other options, and they would take that as go to TNA and you'll get a push there for a while.
Kind of like
pretty much like
the Bret Hart situation with WCW. Vince couldn't pay him, so he more or less suggested go to Eric Bischoff. Is that what you're saying there? Something similar?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, sure, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm so lost when it comes to this stuff. Like, the fan base of Impact is nothing but a bunch of jaded millennials who watch it for irony and fail to realize the good wrestling that is in front of them.
Oh, no, dude. Slammiversary, the wrestling and that. The wrestling, when they wrestle, it's great. Those guys can go. Pretty much anybody on their roster can go. ACH, I hope they sign him because ACH can go.
Oh, absolutely.
Days.
Well, the thing
Sammy Guevara can go for days.
The thing that bothered me was this was probably 6-8 weeks back when Matt Sydal and Andrew Everett had a just phenomenal X Division match. And I wrote at length about it. And I got destroyed by fans saying there's no possible way. I think that was the first match I ever gave 5 stars to. And there's no possible way anything from Impact could get 5 stars. The Impact's that terrible. And that's
dude, those guys can go.
I would say that's the problem that I have with a lot of the wrestling fans. It's they are so jaded by TNA and what TNA has become that they fail to realize when greatness is literally on their television going before them. You know what I mean?
It would be so much better if they just didn't have so many cringeworthy storylines. That's their issue, the storylines.
Another big problem is that every single match is the same. It's like, I'll kick out of your big move, you kick out of my big move, we'll do that a couple times, and then fuck finish.
But then, basically...
That's wrestling, Alex.
Yeah.
That's the entirety of wrestling.
That's storytelling.
That's mostly wrestling. Like, that's most of wrestling. Like, how many finishers do you see? There's only one person I can think of who rarely ever has a finisher kicked out of. I think I've only seen it once, and that'd be Brock.
Oh, no, go back.
If you go watch New Japan, sure, finishers sometimes get kicked out of, but it's rare.
New Japan is a different breed. Most American wrestling, your finishers are getting kicked out of.
Or at least on pay-per-views. In regular shows, maybe not so much.
Is that why New Japan has more hype than any other company in the world right now?
It's also because
No.
Great performers as well.
There's a theory behind this. And hear me out, and Jaime, I want to hear what you think about my theory here in a minute. The New Japan has so much hype right now because it is the alternative to North American wrestling. You look back at the stuff in the 80s and the 90s, the stuff that we all watched as kids that made us wrestling fans, your Hulk Hogan's, your Ultimate Warriors, Randy Savages, and the like. Your Bret Harts, your Shawn Michaels, before the Attitude Era really hit, we had big, muscle-bound guys, with the exception of Bret and Shawn, shoved down our collective throats. We're seeing that, again, pretty much everywhere we go. You look at Impact. Bobby Lashley, Ethan Carter III look like they could bench press a bus. Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, big, huge, muscle-bound guys being shoved down our throats. You go to New Japan, and it's a guy that's 5'9", 5'10", an average-looking Asian guy, or somebody that I think that maybe I have a shot in a regular fight with if he wasn't, a wrestling god. They're the wrestling alternative because they're not what we have seen for the last 20 years. There's something different. There's something new. There's something exciting. There's something that is kind of niche in a way that it's not seen too much over here because it's not on national television. You can't turn into a major cable network and watch New Japan Pro Wrestling for 6 hours a week. You can't turn into a off-cable network and watching two other wrestling companies for 6 hours a week. New Japan is something new. It's something different. It's something that you can feel a part of because it's still so small over here that everybody knows that it's going to explode. That's why it's so big. The performers are great. The storylines are minimal. The wrestling is maximized, and it's something completely and totally different. It is ECW without the blood. In fact, it's ECW for this generation. It's the best analogy you can work with. You know it's going to be big. It's coming. And you want to be a part of it now. You want to jump on that bandwagon. The same way that before ECW jumped to TNN, people were flocking to it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, the hype may come from the cult following that the Bullet Club has amassed. And also, maybe the hype could come from these WWE fans trying to watch New Japan, trying to see new prospects, and then trying to tell the other fans, like, why isn't this guy in the WWE? Why don't they fall in the WWE's radar? That could also be a reason why people are watching New Japan a little more than they used to.
Anybody else got any thoughts before we move on?
It sounds to me like you're basically saying like the hype is being produced by a bunch of hipsters and edgy neckbeard weeaboos.
Well, if you count Dan, maybe.
I disagree.
Oh!
Neckbeard.
Oh!
Neckbeard.
Oh! Oh my God! The burn of the week. Oh!
I actually disagree with Ed a lot, and I don't disagree with him at all on that.
Oh my God! I can't get over what Jaime just said.
Sorry.
Oh.
That's alright. Looks like Jaime just got himself targeted for the rest of the show.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Alright, moving on. That's fantastic. Moving on, let's talk about another potential break-up. And I guess we never really talked about, well, I guess if Paige and Alberto are the first potential breakup, how about the Hype Bros? That's happening, right? They're going to go their separate ways?
I don't know. They're getting ready to release their action figures.
Which is like the baddest omen, right? Enzo and Cass?
I guess, yeah.
I mean, they got their pop figures released on a Sunday, and they broke up on Monday.
I mean, I think they both probably are better off as single wrestlers, but the issue, so I have this thing, it's called the New Day curse.
Uh-huh.
Whatever tag division the New Day is in, that tag division becomes cursed, because it's the New Day feuding with the champs, or the New Day as the champs, and every other tag team is just an afterthought. Luckily, the Fashion Police are surviving because of their skits. But when you think about it, New Day came over, American Alpha, where are they? The Usos are probably going to drop the titles at Battleground.
You think it's going to happen that soon?
I'd assume they're saving that for SummerSlam.
Yeah, I would say that coronation's going to happen at the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, and since we just mentioned it, let's talk about it for a few seconds. Dan, sorry to interrupt you. Coming up for SummerSlam, it will be a special 2-hour Caps, Locks, and Chair Shots podcast. It'll be filled with interviews from the likes of many writers for Real Sport, including our senior editor, Gur Samuel, the editor of the wrestling section, Patches, Chance, and maybe a few other guest stars along with the four of us. It'll be a 2-hour special coming up in, let's say, 4 weeks on the Caps, Locks, and Chair Shots podcast. Go ahead, Dan.
Are we going to get Talking Smack after SummerSlam?
No. In fact, let's bring that up now, since you're so great at the lead-ins, Dan. Talking Smack and Unfiltered, both anchored by Renee Young, are officially canceled. Will no longer appear on the WWE Network in live versions. Anybody care to
Except for
discuss?
after pay-per-views. Well, Talking Smack except for after pay-per-views.
Well, that's not really Talking Smack, that's talking whatever pay-per-view name.
I just want to clarify, Unfiltered has been canceled since last year. The last episode was in December.
Okay, officially canceled. Whatever.
Okay.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've actually released new ones, but...
Whatever, it's gone. That's the point.
Yes, it's gone.
Jaime, why did they cancel these shows?
Well, I'm actually reading Patches. Patches found the WWE statement on it. So, it says that the WWE is continuously reviewing programming lineup based on a variety of factors, including viewership and subscriber research. So, I don't know. Does Talking Smack not have any viewers?
I don't...
No, because no one watches 205 Live.
Yeah, putting it after 205 Live pretty much killed it.
I was gonna say, that's one of them things that everybody talks about the next day because they don't watch it live, that, oh my god, The Miz was so great in this. The thing Daniel Bryan, major bombshell, or wow, The New Day said a bunch of crazy stuff. Like, I always thought it was a really good show. I don't understand why they would cancel it.
I think part of the reason why it got canceled, regardless of ratings, is because of the fact that
Renee Young is pregnant.
Half of the interviews, were shoot interviews. So they didn't really, which we love as fans, but they don't love. Like Nakamura saying that, Nakamura said the one time that Ziggler's going to end up in Japan soon.
That's fantastic.
I don't think that's the reason. I think the reason is more or less that they're punishing Renee Young for going off and doing the secret marriage with Dean Ambrose instead of letting them do their Total Divas horse shit.
I have an alternate theory. Renee Young is pregnant and they want to take her off television.
That might be possible. That might be why they got married secretly.
Maybe that's why they took her off Total Divas, because it doesn't make sense in the storyline. Jaime, am I crazy here?
All your theories, I also thought of that already. So anything is possible for this.
Alrighty, well, there you have it. We're about halfway through the show, ladies and gentlemen, and around this time we're going to do something we haven't done in a little while, and that is talk about ourselves and let them know where you can find us. Jaime, what do you got down the pike? What's going on with you this week?
Okay, well, so I'm occupied with training. I'm trying to cut weight because I figure that's the only way I could effectively bulk up again is to cut up. No. Okay, so that's for my training, for my MMA training. As for Real Sport, I have an article coming up. The 5 tag teams to watch in NXT in the upcoming months. So, just for a sneak preview, you got the Ely Brothers. You got TM61's about to return soon.
Okay.
So, that's pretty much it. And read the previews for all the WWE shows.
There you go. Where can they find you on Twitter there, Mr. MMA Man?
It's at the Great JLA.
Okay. Now, since we're not on YouTube anymore, I don't have to worry about changing your Twitter handle every other week, so that's a plus. Alex, what's going on, buddy? What do you got up this week?
I'm finishing my review of the film Twinklight.
Oh my gosh. Do we want to know? Do we want to know?
It's a gay porno review of Twilight.
Is it as bad as what it sounds?
Yes, it is awful.
Are you watching it ironically or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm reviewing it to make fun of it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't. I'm not too sure how tuned in you are to the gay porno community, and like if you're watching it to like give it 5 stars, or if you're just watching it like, God, this is terrible.
God, it was terrible.
Okay.
It was as boring as the actual Twilight movie, so I'll give it that.
I imagine there's several jokes about sucking things.
There is not a single joke in the entire movie, and that's what makes it terrible.
Well, this is a different discussion on a different podcast for a different time. But I really I don't know how to say this without sounding.
You really want to watch it.
I kind of do.
You really want to watch it.
I kind of do, and I kind of think that I could do it better. Anyway, wow, we need to change the subject, and that might get edited out. I don't know. We are unfiltered, uncensored, and unedited because I don't care on this podcast, so it's going to stay in. Dan, what do you got going on?
It's going to stay in.
Oh my gosh. Dan, talk.
Alex was holding his laugh.
Orioles mid-season review should be up here shortly, so you guys can get that from me. There's going to be some other stuff coming down. What exactly? Who knows? You can always find me here and find me on our other podcast.
I just want to point out that it's taken Dan 2 weeks to do one mid-season recap, and I did 6 in one day. And they're better than what Dan did.
Oh, by far going to be better than what I did.
Oh, they're already better.
We also have a Shield piece coming out now that we have...
Monday. That will be up Monday. I was going to get to that. But yes.
Now that Ed has finally completed his part of the assignment, we can get that going.
Yeah, completed it, yeah. Anyway, okay, so... Coming up for me, you can find me, of course, here and on the Sports Du Jour podcast this week. Later on this afternoon, we are covering the MMA, and it's going to be a 4-man board. It's me and Dan. We're going to interview Serious, that is his legit name, and he is very serious about the combat sports. And, of course, joining us as our special guest, we could not keep him off the MMA podcast, and that is hopeful future MMA fighter, our own Jaime. He's going to be joining us as well at 7 p.m. tonight. You can catch that podcast probably an hour to an hour and a half later on SoundCloud and later on the Real Sport website. You can also check out all the recaps that I'm doing. As Dan mentioned, the Shield piece will be up on Monday, and we're probably going to get some stuff about some of the greatest announcers of all time in the other 3 sports that I cover, so you can look forward to doing that. I'm going to dive into that real big this week. Let's jump back in, and since we teased it at the top of the show, let's talk about it now. Dan, I know nothing about the Mae Young Classic. Honestly, I don't know if I care about the Mae Young Classic, so please enlighten me.
Alright, so as everyone knows, this is something the WWE has been hyping up, the women's tournament. You guys want to run down the 32 competitors, or you kind of just want to run down some of the favorites that they have that are going to be that have a chance to win the tournament? We have Kairi Sane, who is a big Japanese wrestler. She's been very hyped up coming over to the WWE. It looks like she has signed a WWE contract.
Well, now, when you say big, do you mean like popular, or do you mean like Nia Jax?
No, she was a very popular Japanese female wrestler.
Okay, go on.
A lot of fans have wanted to come over. She's finally came over. She is a heavy favorite to win the tournament. We have Tessa Blanchard, which you guys might recognize that last name from Four Horsemen Telly.
Mm-hmm.
It is
the Red Rooster.
It is
awesome.
his daughter.
Cool.
We have Toni Storm, who is the Progress Women's Champion. She is another favorite to win this tournament. And I think it might be strictly because of the fact of the relationship that the WWE has with Progress Wrestling.
Okay.
You have Piper Niven, who is also known as Viper on the British indie scene. She is a big wrestler, Nia Jax-wise, as a comparison. And rumor is she might be signing a WWE contract here shortly.
She's also 1,000 times more talented than Nia Jax.
Well, hey, let's not dish on Nia Jax. I mean, come on. She's not terrible.
Jax admits she's fairly new.
You have Abby Lath in the tournament as well. She is formerly known as Kimberly on the independent scene. We have Sarah Logan, who... Hold
on. She's known as Kimber Lee, as in like two names?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes. We have Sarah Logan, who was known as Crazy Mary Dobson on the indie scene. She is signed to the WWE, but is not a heavy favorite. We have Bianca Belair, who we have seen on NXT, and she won her way into the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dakota Kai, formerly known as Evie. She was a British indie wrestler who has now signed with the WWE, and she is not a favorite, but she is someone to look out for in this tournament and to look out for going forward in the WWE.
Okay.
We have Jazzy Gabbert. She was once known as the alpha female. She had a brief stint on Impact back in 2014. From what I have read, she has been a huge fan favorite down there this weekend. So where the fans have chanted, please sign Jazzy, and to Triple H when he was out there, and his response was, last time you guys did this, it cost me a lot of money. Talking about Cedric Alexander in the Cruiserweight Classic. We have Princess Suchi. She is a Mexican wrestling woman, and she was the women's champion in CMLL.
Okay.
We have Sage Beckett. Beckett is familiar to Impact fans who saw her as Rosie Lovelot. She's somebody to look out for down the road because.
Hold on. Am I thinking of the same, the really, really big lady?
Yeah. Are we on the same wavelength there, Dan? She's kind of a bigger woman.
No, I mean she's got a little bit of a bigger build, but she's not bigger than Nia.
Okay, I'm gonna. Rosie, it was what? It was Rosie Lotta
Love.
Yeah, I think she may have lost a lot of weight there, Alex, but I think it's the same person.
She had to have lost a lot of weight, because this is not a nice sight.
Okay, let's move on before we get Alex on his women-hating tangent. Keep going, Dan.
We have Lacey Evans, which if you guys watch NXT, you know who she is. She has made multiple appearances on the show, and she's been signed with them since last year. We have Rhea Ripley, who is 20 years old. She is somebody to definitely look out for, just for the simple fact of her age, and she's on the Australian wrestling scene as well, and she's somebody who can make a huge impact down the line. We have one of my personal favorites, but is not a favorite to win this tournament, in Kaylee Ray. She is a British independent wrestler, and she has worked very well, and she is somebody who I hope they do sign eventually. We also have Vanessa Bourne, who we see won her way into the tournament this past week on NXT.
Okay.
We have Aisha Raymond, who's another UK independent wrestler. She was trained by Robbie Brookside and Johnny Saint. Some of those names may sound familiar to some of you guys, because they were some pretty big British wrestling stars. We have Tanera Conti. She is a Brazilian wrestler who was the talk of Twitter, actually, the day of, because of how familiar she looks to being Natty and Renee Young's love child. And then we have We have Kavit David, who is the trainee of the Great Khali. She has to be a favorite in this tournament to some degree for the simple fact that they are trying to push the Indian market. So what's not a better way to push than have a Indian woman win the tournament? And then we have one of my personal favorites in Candice LeRae, one half of the world's cutest tag team.
Hold on.
A.K.A. Johnny Gargano's wife.
Candice LeRae. I've heard this name before. Is this the penis plex woman?
Yes. Candice LeRae does the balls plex.
Is she gonna do this in? I guess it would be the vagina plex.
She might give Joey Ryan a shout out and do a boobplex.
And what is that, like grabbing somebody by the boobs and flipping them?
And giving them a suplex, yes.
From front or behind?
From behind.
So it's like a belly to... No, it'd be like... like a German, but...
Yes, it's a German. It's a German, but you're grabbing them by the boobs.
I'm actually okay with this.
Just YouTube Joey Ryan boobplex, and a whole bunch of them will pop up. And it's all great.
See, that one makes sense, because like if you go up behind someone and then you grab them by the tits, you'd still have enough leverage to like throw them backwards.
Depending on how big the boobs are.
Tossing someone with his penis, I don't like.
Moving on, this name's going to sound familiar to almost everybody. Serena Deeb is back in the tournament. And she was a member of the Straight Edge Society before she got released in 2010. We have...
Now, hold on a second. So what you're saying is both members of the Straight Edge Society are now involved with the WWE now, right?
Yeah.
And...
It's not happening.
I'm just saying...
It's not happening.
I wish it would.
Can you guys give me hope?
Punk will go to New Japan before he goes back to WWE.
He would go to Ring of Honor before I feel like he would go to New Japan.
No.
Well, they're pretty much hand in hand at this point.
Well, that will make me watch the Indies.
Holy crap. Okay, go on before I rip on Dan for the Orioles sucking.
We have Xia Li, who is a Chinese women's wrestler. She's not a heavy favorite in this at all. We have one of my personal favorites in Rachel Evers, who is also known as Rachel Ellering.
Ellering?
Ellering, yes. I'm still not awake. Which is the daughter of Paul Ellering. She's one of my personal favorites in this tournament, who I expect to go pretty far. We have Marty Bell, who is a American independent wrestler. And then we have Santina Garrett, which is another former knockout women's wrestler, and she's a staple in the independent wrestling world.
Okay, I'm sorry, but go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was so afraid you were about to say Santina Marilla.
I was going to get to that. You see, professional sports teams retire numbers that will never be used again. The name Santina should be retired by the WWE, never to be used again. Continue.
We have Nicole Savvy, who is somebody who is in the U.S. independent scene.
Okay.
We have Mia Yam, who is also known as Jade, who is a heavy favorite into this tournament.
Okay.
Rena Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
We have Shayna Baszler, who is one of the four horsewomen of MMA, who is one of my personal favorites. I cannot wait to see her in the ring. From what I heard, she has done amazing things.
Okay.
So creative.
Zeta, who's just another independent wrestler out there who's making their debut. Miranda Salanes. She's a WWE recruit. She was trained by Booker T. She was trained at Booker T's Wrestling Academy. Renee Michelle, who is trained by one of Ed's favorite wrestlers, Gilbert.
Oh, I love me some Gilbert. And
Mercedes Martinez, who is one of the great women's wrestlers out there that is finally getting her big break and is a favorite in this tournament, and that is all 32 of your competitors.
When I saw the name Mercedes Martinez for the first time, I sat there and thought, wait a minute, is that the lady from TNA who spent the entire match screaming, "Oh my God, my vag"?
That happened? That literally happened?
That happened.
Oh my God.
It was Shelly Martinez versus, I want to say, Velvet Sky?
Is that the same Shelly Martinez that tried to be a vampire in the ECW reboot with Kevin Thorne?
Tiffany? That's Tiffany.
No. No. There was one of them that was like Kevin Thorne's valet or something. And she went on to do, she's doing like amateur porn now.
That sounds about right, to be honest.
It's... Okay. Dan, I fell asleep, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know. Your interest in women's wrestling is just like Alex's, non-existent.
No, to be fair, Alex is interested in women's wrestling. He just hates them.
This is true. I do hate most women's wrestlers, but I also hate most men's wrestlers. So,
well, since we're talking about loving and hating, let's bring up numbers 21 to 30 on the Real Sport vote of the 50 greatest wrestlers of all time. Now, for those of you that have not listened before, there are some greats on this list that are outside the top 30, such as Mr. Perfect, The Ultimate Warrior, Kane, Samoa Joe, Owen Hart, Big Show, and even some that didn't even make the top 50, such as Rob Van Dam, The Dynamite Kid, Booker T, Cesaro, and Adam Cole Bebe, which I assume is going to be added to his last name in a hyphenated type thing for the WWE to promote him. Anyway,
it'll just be Adam Cole. You're completely wrong.
He'll be Michael Cole's long-lost son, Adam Cole.
What if he's Michael Cole's nephew? Do a little Ethan Carter III, Dixie Carter kind of thing.
Well, he'll be Adam Cole III.
He does not need that at all. He's going to be a big enough star. If guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are not going to have to change their name and they're going to let them use their name from ROH and that type of stuff, it's not going to change. It's going to be Adam Cole. Stop trying to make it more than what it is.
We're not saying his name is going to change.
You're going to piss me off. There's not going to be a storyline. He's going to come in and destroy NXT, run through the roster.
Dan, have you watched a WWE show ever? There's always a storyline. There's never not a storyline. When it comes to somebody new coming in from another promotion, there's always a storyline. Always a storyline. They did it with Samoa Joe. He's a mercenary. They did it with AJ Styles. He's coming in to be the face that runs the place. And the Bullet Club, they teased with him. They do it with everybody.
That's fine.
He will not be different.
Anybody's illegitimate child or illegitimate nephew or anything like that.
How long has it been? How long has it been since we've had a paternity case in the WWE?
Wait till Monday. You're going to see your paternity case in the WWE.
That's going to be Dixie Carter. I'm calling it now. That's going to be Dixie Carter.
It's going to be Stephanie, and they're going to have a child together, and that's going to set up Triple H and Kurt at WrestleMania.
No.
So what is Corey Graves' role here?
Corey Graves is the godfather of the child.
Because they're
Corey
both from
Graves
Pittsburgh?
is the child.
Oh! Oh, that's brilliant! Oh, I was going to go with the dark horse here and say, I'm sorry, the woman he's talking to is Lita. They have the illegitimate thing, and it's going to break Matt Hardy. But that's really good, Alex. That's really good. Anyway, back on topic. Number 30 on our list is, it's a crime. It is a legit crime that he is number 30, and that is Luthez. Anybody care? Seriously?
Who's that?
Oh my God.
Luthez! The guy the Luthez Press is named after.
Sit down, ladies And kids, and listen to me. Lou Thesz was, for his time, a bigger name than The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Sting, Hulk Hogan combined. In a time of 4 TV networks that only ran for 6 hours at a time, his workouts leading up to a match in Los Angeles were nationally televised. His name was more synonymous with professional wrestling than any other at any other given time ever in history. He was the NWA champion for almost a decade, in a time when that actually meant something. He is the pioneer
champion?
and
Championship?
NWA, clean out your earphones, you troll.
N-words with attitude?
N-words with attitude.
At number 29 is Brock Lesnar. At number 28 is Rey Mysterio Jr. At number 27 is Roddy Piper. Do we have any issues with those three?
Brock Lesnar should be lower.
I agree.
Brock Lesnar should be a lot higher. Like, when he's actually allowed and cares to wrestle, he's a great wrestler.
When has that ever
I
happened?
know that.
When does that happen? When you pay him enough money.
But when has that ever happened?
Early in his career?
Yeah.
He wasn't good early in his career. Must I remind you guys of the moonsault? Or the shooting star press he attempted, where he almost killed himself?
The fact that he could do a shooting star press was amazing.
He didn't do it! He failed at doing it! It was a botch.
No, he did it. He just missed.
No, it was a botch. It was terrible. It was god-awful terrible.
It is in the intro for Botchamania, which you have to love.
I don't know what that is.
Optical.
And I'm not sure anybody else knows what that is. Moving on. Let's see, where am I at? 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. Andre the Giant. Number 25 is a 13-time world champion.
He should be a lot lower.
Who am I talking about?
Randy Orton.
Yes, I am. I was going to say he's from my hometown of St. Louis, but, I mean, come on. You know.
Great. Now all of our 12 listeners know where you live.
They know where my hometown is. They don't know where I live.
If you guys want his address, hit me up on Twitter. You gotta follow me first.
Wow, is that begging? Anybody got a problem with Orton being at 25?
He should be a lot higher.
He should be a lot lower.
Should be a lot higher.
He's done the 5 same moves his whole career. And one of them is a shitty cutter.
Oh, whatever. The RKO out of nowhere is legendary.
And it's a meme.
Diamond Dallas Page did the cutter so much better.
Oh my gosh.
No, he didn't.
You mark.
His never looked nearly as smooth as the RKO.
That I'm gonna have to give it to Alex on that. Not to mention, come on! You're telling me Diamond Dallas Page, as much as I love DDP, had a shirt when I was little, always did the Diamond Cutter sign. He's nowhere in the same ballpark as Randy Orton. And our ratings kind of reflected that. At number 24, Jake the Snake Roberts.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
At number 22 is Bruno Sammartino.
He should be a lot lower. Never heard of the guy.
What?
He's trolling you. He's trolling. He's being stupid. He's heard of Bruno. Everybody's heard of Bruno.
Okay, I got trolled.
And at number 21 is Edge.
Should be higher for me.
Nah, he's right about where he should be.
I agree. Dan, thoughts?
So, I'm cool with that, but for some reason I always used to confuse Edge and Test. I think it was just because they were 2 white guys with long blonde hair.
Yeah, you know what?
And terrible tattoos.
That's a good point. Now, I skipped number 23 for those of you that were paying attention, and that's neither of my 3 co-hosts, because number 23 is a man that I'm not even sure we should mention. I think it's a travesty he's being erased from history, but I completely understand it for the actions that he did. There's conspiracy theories on how much he was involved and why he was involved and who is to blame for the unfortunate death of himself and his wife and his son.
I know who you're talking about. Stevie Richards, right?
No, Stevie Richards should be in the top 10. Thank you for taking something that I really planned on this introduction of doing and trying to be really serious about and just completely crapping all over it. You
Stevie
troll.
Richards is alive.
What's that?
Stevie Richards is alive.
Yeah, he's Alex is a troll.
I just watched him wrestle like 2 months ago.
I'm talking about Chris Benoit.
Yes, it is a travesty that he's being erased from WWE history.
He's number 23 on our list, and it took a lot of soul searching when the list was created to even have him on the list because of the circumstances surrounding his death. And then I got to thinking.
And that's how long it took for him to think.
Yes, that's a huge topic. His spot in history can never be undone. It can never be replaced. Him jumping to WCW helped ECW and WCW. Him jumping to the WWF was one of the turning points in the Monday Night War. His matches were unparalleled. He was one of the greatest solid workers in history, and he had one of the biggest stories in the history of wrestling that shed some light on CTE and concussions in the professional wrestling ring with the help of, I don't want to say with the help of something that terrible, but because of that something that terrible and Christopher Nowitzki, we now have a better concussion protocol for the WWE and for wrestling worldwide. Erasing him from history is as unfair as erasing O.J. Simpson and what he did in Buffalo from history. Before O.J. killed his wife and then robbed a bunch of people in Vegas and went to jail, O.J. Simpson.
Innocent of murder.
O.J. Simpson was
He was acquitted. That's not the same as being found innocent.
One of the greatest running backs of all time. And you can't erase him from the record books. He's still in Canton. He's still a Heisman Trophy winner. Chris Benoit is still a world champion. He's still one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, despite what had happened. What he did is unfortunate. What he did, it's not even unfortunate. It's appalling. It's disgusting. And even if he had the brain capacity of an 85-year-old man, and even if he did kill himself because of his grief and all of that, and even if it happened 100% the way that we have all been told that it happened, the actions that he performed before he ever took his first life are something that cannot and should not be ignored. I completely understand why the WWE is a publicly funded company needs to separate themselves from something that terrible. But his spot in history, not of the WWE, but in wrestling as a whole, should not be erased. Anybody else got any final thoughts before we close out the show today?
He should be a lot higher. He was the definition of a vanilla midget.
Yeah, he should be higher.
Or lower, I mean. Sorry.
I think if I remember, I ranked him higher.
Yes, you did.
Like me, somebody that is still living today, and I feel like is completely underrated. You guys might disagree with this, but just talking about like his technical background and everything like that is Lance Storm. Lance Storm was a hell of a technical wrestler. He has zero personality. He will probably be the first person to tell you he has zero personality. But
if I can be serious for a moment.
That's hard for you.
Go on.
No, that's it. If I can be serious for a moment, that's something Lance Storm says all the time.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Yeah.
For those of you that want a little bit of behind the scenes, it's 10:40 in the morning. I was up until about 1 a.m. playing video games. I woke up at 7 and I am still flat exhausted. My brain is not 100% there, so I apologize for the show being as crappy as it is. But now it is time for us to say goodbye. Jaime, you got any last words?
Breaking news. Hold on, I have some breaking news here.
Oh, okay.
For some of our fans that don't know, I am going to be venturing my way into Ed territory and making him go to a good independent wrestling show. He is going to put me up in his house for the weekend, and we are going to watch good independent wrestling, and then we're going to talk about it on a special edition podcast. The dates have not been set yet because I have to find good independent shows in his area, but this is some breaking news.
This is so breaking that I've never heard this before. And it's my house. Okay. Jaime, do you have anything you want to say before me and Dan talk about how I'm going to kill him?
I was just going to say watch out for my works at realsport101.com and keep listening to the podcast. Follow me on Twitter. It's @thegreatJLA. It will never change ever again. And that's pretty much my parting words.
That's because Twitter limits you to only changing it like once every 6 months. Give it 6 months, it'll change again, guys.
Alex, say goodbye to the people.
Chris Benoit, O.J. Simpson, Bill Cosby didn't do nothing wrong.
You can find him at the Unfunny Comedian on Twitter, folks. Please direct all hate mail that way. That's the Unfunny Comedian. He is on Twitter. He is also on YouTube. Be sure to spam the hell out of his YouTube channel. Dan, final words before we talk to you in about 6 hours or so?
Look out for the vlog of mine and Ed's weekend coming soon to a YouTube channel near you.
I can guarantee you this will never, and I mean ever, happen again.
And follow me on Twitter at @thedirect.
Alrighty, and like I told you guys before, if you're into announcing, you can look for all of my pieces on baseball, hockey, and football. Those should be up this week. You can also look for the argument for who is the best member of the Shield. That is between me, Dan, and our friend Daniel Binzi. Nice to see you there, Dan. Hope you're listening. And for everything else, just tune into Real Sport. Listen to our podcast. Listen to the podcast of the wrestling show Hailing Out of Britain on their Facebook page. There'll be some articles covering the end of Wimbledon and the champion, as I just saw Serena Williams got taken out just now in the finals. Or, I'm sorry, that's one of the Williams sisters. I don't know which one. But anyway, stay tuned to Real Sport for all of that. You can also catch the Sports Du Jour podcast episode for this week. We are covering the MMA. Myself, Dan, Jaime, and a special guest, Sirius, will be joining us from Real Sport, covering the Conor McGregor fight and everything that's going on in MMA, including UFC 214. For all of us here at the Real Sport Podcast, we have just 2 words for you. Keep listening.